Welcome back. Let's catch you up on a couple stories that should be on your radar today. It is Rapid Fire, and here to break down the headlines are Seema Modi, Eric Chemi, and Julia Boorstin today. Let's start with Julia. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg are set to have a face-to-face meeting with civil rights leaders at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Zuckerberg and Sandberg will address demands of the Stop Hate for Profit boycott, which has grown from a few companies here and there to nearly 1,000 brands, including major players like Unilever, Coca-Cola, and Verizon. Julia, what should we expect?
Well, look, I think they're going to be talking about the demands of the organizers of this boycott. And Facebook, I think, is really going to be talking about the progress it's already made. Sheryl Sandberg and Mark Zuckerberg have both made it very clear that they are not just folding to pressure, that they've been on top of these issues of trying to really minimize hate and racism on the platform for a while. And they're sort of reiterating that they're not going to do anything because of pressure. They're not going to be making changes because of financial pressure, but they want to do the right thing. So I think the issue is what they think is the right thing is not yet enough for these boycotting companies and the organizers. So we'll see what comes out of it in a couple hours.
Seema, is it going to matter? You know, can Facebook kind of wait this out and let this blow over or not?
Well, I think that's the key question. And talk at the end of the day is cheap. And to Julia's point, I think there are a lot of people out there who want to see action. That statement from Sheryl Sandberg, appreciated by many, and talking down comments around hate. But is it a little too late to the game? This boycott started 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, we'll see what happens. Julia, we'll check back in with you, of course, for that reporting as we get it. Let's talk in the meantime about what's going on in the cruise industry. Rival cruise giants Royal Caribbean and Norwegian are teaming up to face the CDC. They're launching a joint task force called Healthy Sail to address COVID health concerns. It's always interesting to see two competitors do a joint interview. Here's what the two CEOs had to say exclusively to Ms. Seema earlier today.
There will be changes, but I think the changes won't undermine the fundamental fact that people are buying a cruise for a marvelous experience, and we understand we need to deliver that marvelous experience.
They'll be back. They're back now. They're wanting to cruise with us, and so we believe that the long-term viability of this business is intact. And we're going through a rough patch with this virus, but we're confident that this rough patch will not last forever.
Seema, it seems like they're kind of getting frustrated and saying, look, we are tired of just waiting and waiting and waiting. We want to come up with these regulations to have a plan to start sailing.
Yeah, and we're tired, too, as journalists following these companies. It's been 4 months since the cruise lines were halted in mid-March, and yet still no concrete recommendations on what cruise lines will look like in this post-pandemic era. That's why they created this panel and brought two rivals, Norwegian and Royal, together to create this panel of medical experts that can help guide them in these discussions with the CDC. But, Kelly, it's a really tricky task. They can update their safety protocols, but also they need to preserve that cruise experience and create that level of entertainment and not discourage customers from booking a cruise.
It is somewhat analogous to the challenge that sports venues are facing, Eric.
Kelly, I mean, especially in the cruise industry, what we've heard from these companies, they say no one can really remember, when you talk about word of mouth, which cruise company you were on, which cruise company had a problem. These industries, they go up and down together. It's not so much one company versus the other. It's the industry together. In a way, they're not so much competitors. They're competing against all the other entertainment choices that are out there, similar to sports, Kelly.
Absolutely. Julie, what were you going to say?
No, I just think it's really remarkable, Kelly. If you think about what it means to be on a cruise, remember a couple months ago when everyone was sick on those cruises and they were all sort of quarantined together, and to think about what the future of cruises are going to look like. You know, those CEOs who Seema interviewed, they talked about maybe you have an unlimited buffet, but you don't let people serve themselves. Or maybe instead of going to a crowded port of call, you have the only visits to private islands. So this is an industry that's really going to have to transform not just the logistics of how it works behind the scenes, but also expectations of consumers.
Yeah, look, the casinos got rid of the buffet, Seema. I mean, if there's no buffet on a cruise, why would anybody go?
Yeah, that's the key question there. I mean, buffets are certainly a big draw for those who really love cruising, but there's casino night, there's zip lining, there are other activities, of course, that travelers partake in when you get on a cruise. Key thing I would also point out, 2021 bookings, according to Norwegian CEO Frank Del Rio, he said are strong, which tells you a lot about how much trust customers are putting in these cruise lines.
No, I believe that. I hear people making future plans. All right, we'll move on. Now to real estate. One high growth area of that market lately has been warehouses, and now it's hotter, or rather colder than ever. Let's bring in Diana Olick for more. Diana, cold is hot. What's going on?
Cold is hot. Like you said, look, to keep up with the new demand from online grocery buying and direct-to-consumer pharmaceuticals, The U.S. needs up to 100 million more square feet of cold storage warehouse space, and that's according to CBRE. That's roughly 6,100 new warehouses, like this one being developed by Scout Capital outside Philadelphia. New cold storage needs to be much closer into cities. Why? Because we all need everything right now. Now, while demand from restaurants has fallen off sharply, demand from supermarkets, from online orders, way up. The average age of a cold storage warehouse is 34 years old, so the whole sector needs a facelift with more automation. Now, there is just one dedicated cold storage REIT, that's Americold, but other big storage companies like Prologis do have the ability for tenants to do a box within a box. That's cold storage in a regular warehouse space. This is going to be big demand over the next couple months and years. Callie?
I'm just looking at everybody else for reaction. You know, you're going to get Seema's take on the cold storage REIT play.
Well, I will
here.
say, just listening to Diana's report, it's interesting how Americold, the only real estate investment trust that specializes in cold storage, the stock has done really nothing if you look at the year-to-date performance and even the 12-month performance of the stock. But also, cold storage extends beyond warehouses. It's scanners, it's technology, it's the containers that produce or pharmaceuticals travel in. So there seems to be an opportunity here beyond just the real estate.
Kelly, remember when the temperatures dictated where you put servers? Remember these big tech companies were going way up to the Arctic Circle because they wanted those cold temperatures for the servers. It reminds me of that, so maybe all of a sudden cold storage will take off. There's one REIT now, maybe all of a sudden in a year or two from now there'll be a couple more.
Yeah, once there's an ETF, we have, the trend is over. The easy money's been made. Diana, thank you. We appreciate it. Diana Olick with the latest there. Finally, what is the sports world telling us about COVID? Will there ever be sports again? More players across baseball especially are opting out of the 2020 season entirely as frustration over testing and COVID grow. And Eric, I think it's interesting. This is a template, because baseball's kind of first, then basketball, and I suppose then football.
Baseball's interesting because they're not using a bubble. These teams will be in their home facilities and traveling to all these road games. It will look like a normal baseball season. So a lot of players are opting out, and a lot of teams, they haven't even been able to practice. They don't even have the results of their tests. So you've got a league-wide issue here. A lot of star players, they're not even sure the league's going to make it to opening day.
Julia?
I think this is going to be a real opportunity to use technology. The most cutting-edge technology needs to be deployed across all of these different leagues, whether it's the rings that are being tested out to monitor temperatures or whether it's contact tracing. But I do think that this is an opportunity to figure out what the future of sports looks like, and especially if people start coming back into stadiums, how you make sure that people are transacting, doing everything without any touching. So really using mobile payments for everything. And I think it could really be at the leading edge of tech development for live events.
We got to go, but Eric, if by some chance there's not an NFL season, does Patrick Mahomes still get paid?
It depends. He'll have to negotiate that. I mean, he's got a $500 million contract. There's a lot of ifs in that $500 million, so we'll see if he actually makes that over the next 10 years. But that's going to be a whole other thing. If there's no NFL, and we'll have a lot of free time on Sundays.
But there's no way. Don't you think, given everything that's going on, we're still going to have sports or not? What's the scuttlebutt right now?
Dr. Fauci said the worst sport you could create in terms of contact and this whole COVID thing is football. So if we can't get these sports off the ground, forget about football.
All right, fair enough. They're just trying to save some money on his big contract. Seema Modi, Eric Chemi, Julia Borston, thank you guys.